Now I'm still looking at my vision. For thou art with me.
Yeah.
Are y'all following that? So I'm no longer looking at my distraction. I'm no longer studying how do I get over this. I'm no longer looking at it and saying, how do I get around this? I'm no longer looking at saying, do I deserve more? No. When I look at vision, I know I deserve more. When I look at vision, I know I'm greater than this. When I look at vision, you hear me? So I don't have to watch the steps I take. The vision tells me, lift your foot. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying. As long as I can see.
All right, welcome back to the Backpack Preacher Podcast. I was with Crystal and Ogunleye last week, and we wanted to just jump back into this. At the end of our last conversation, Crystal brought up a topic that is vital to people running businesses, churches, families, working in a job. How do you build amazing quality ministry while you have so many duties? For her specifically, and she'll go into this more, being a wife, being a friend to people, being a daughter to her mother, taking care of her mother when she was sick, being a mother herself. So it is the duty of trying to hold everything together, especially while trying to do ministry. And ministry is the part that seems so important because it's to God. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes, depending on who the person you're serving is, they'll almost make service to the church and to them more important. than service to your family, your friends, your parents, whatever. So this is a passionate point of yours, and I just want you to be free to talk about your experience and really just help other people that are deeply involved. And I want to make this specific because I'm not talking about an admin that just makes a call every now and then or faxes a paper. I'm talking about we were a mid-sized church that were operating with a mega level thinking. Right. And our whole staff was working a job and trying to, full-time, but somehow, and I don't know how. But you do. So I want to learn from you today about what that was like for you.
So when mom died, I had just started my career full time. And I was finishing undergrad and I was going into grad school. And so Boomy and I had a conversation early on because, your marriage is supposed to be your first ministry, right? And so Boomy just as dedicated as I am. Thank God that I married somebody who was. And so I think...
Let's pause there. Because I think that's big.
It is.
Tell me about that experience with you and Boomy. How you were so blessed in that moment.
So it's funny because you and I had a conversation maybe about 6 months before I met him. And I was like, well, whoever I get was going to have to be here and just accept it. Because we were talking about marriages, and sometimes people get married to someone, they have to leave and go to their church. And you're like, Crystal, but what if he's not here? I'm like, well, I guess I'll never get married. So we laughed about it because I think it was mom, you, it was a couple of us. We laughed about it. But when I met Boomy, and he would just come on a Saturday and help us clean the church. And I said, okay, so this might work. And then he started getting involved in ministry as we were dating. And I said, this really, really could work. And so once we got married, it was just a no-brainer for us to be in ministry together. So if I'm coming on a Saturday, he's coming on a Saturday. Whether I'm coming to be in the office and do work, he was coming to do something in the audio team. Like, it was just always us working in ministry together. So that made it, I think it made it easier for both of us.
And with all the stuff that comes with marriage, period, we all know the stuff that comes with marriage, disagreements, all that. Would you say that both of your commitment to what you're doing for God at times became the glue that kept y'all together? Yeah,
it did. Because at the end of the day, we could be mad at each other, but if we have something we're working on together for church, it's like we got to work this out. We have to figure this out.
That's big.
Yeah.
So, I didn't mean to pause you, but I needed to because that's a lot of people, especially a lot of female believers. I don't think you're supposed to use the word female anymore, right?
We can use female.
You can? I thought it was against the rules. Oh, we can. Okay. Because aren't you supposed to say like woman believer? You're not supposed to say female anymore.
Everybody knows your attention.
Okay, but I'm gonna be right.
Okay.
There are a lot of men. There's a lot of women believers out there
Okay.
that do have a marriage that or say they're single and they're looking to date or marry and they're so committed to the work of the ministry, and then they run into a relationship that does not value it. I want to talk about this, Crystal, because if Boomy didn't value the ministry, I mean, you got blessed. You were blessed.
I was.
If he didn't value the ministry, it wouldn't have given you a right to say, well, screw you, husband. I'm still going to go do things for Chosen Generation or Master Builders. What should a woman do, or a man that's in a relationship that they were committed to something way before the relationship, but now that relationship requires them?
Right.
What do you do? I mean, what would you advise, or what would you at least encourage?
I mean, I would encourage the communication. So when mom died, my role stepped up a lot. And so Boomy and I had to have that conversation. Like, Boomy, I'm going to be doing a lot more than what I was doing before. And he's like, I get it. But I still would make sure there was stuff in the house, like food in the house, things like that. You still tend to your spouse. But you just they have to know how passionate you are about that thing that you're pursuing outside of your marriage. And know that it's not about me trying to go there to avoid marriage. I'm not going there to find something else. I'm going there because, like, for me, that's literally my reasonable service. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do.
That's major, man. That's major. And like you said, not just doing it, but understanding what you're doing and what you're involved in. That's big. Don't forsake your spouse for ministry, because then you just broke in ministry.
You did.
Because I think, and I want to add to that even the spouse that's not supportive,
right?
Sometimes that spouse has no clue that the blessings that rain down on your house is because of this person's commitment.
Absolutely.
So I would like to encourage some of the husbands out there, or wives that are, trying to disengage their spouse from ministry or their business or whatever is important to them. You're also canceling the blessings that fall on your house from that person's commitment to God.
It's crazy. Boomy and I had this conversation probably when we got the house. It was like, we had what we have is because we would never take a dime from our church after all these years, all the things we've done.
Right.
I'm not handing you an invoice. He's not handing you an invoice. It's like, these are the things that happen because of what you do, because of your service. Yeah. And people don't understand that.
And I want to say, I love these conversations. God gave us a grace that we never had to beg for money. Not that we ever had much. But we never had to raise not even a second offering. We've never done it.
Right.
I think it's the commitment to the work that just drives them. I was talking to Narisha the other day, and I said, I don't think Jesus ever raised the offering. Not that I can remember Jesus ever raising the offering ever in the scriptures ever. They had money. Right. Because that day, the disciples were like, should we just go buy enough food for these people? So obviously they had money in the ministry. They had money. Right. Because this was what? They said it was they fed 5,000, but we know it was 10 to 12,000 people. Right. You know what it costs to feed 12,000 people?
I can't imagine, but
You had to have a ministry budget.
You did.
They didn't have time to buy. Right. So a miracle had to happen. Right. And Jesus didn't raise an offering to make that miracle happen, because it wasn't going to be the money to make the miracle happen. It was the commitment to to loving the people. Yep. Guys listening out there, please grab a hold of this, man. I know for me personally, I've suffered from my gifting.
You have.
But I never had to earn it from a man. I never had to earn it by serving a man. I served Bishop with the commitment that I did because I wanted to.
Right.
Not because I was trying to gain something.
Right. Or because you were paid to.
Right.
Right.
And I think with your family being blessed because of the ministry, I don't think it was the ministry that blessed you. It was your commitment to the ministry.
Right. Right.
That just blessed you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go on more into the balance. How did you deal with that work life, marriage, mom balance? And I'm really interested in your answer with this because I wasn't the pastor to say, oh, I just show up on Sundays and preach, and I show up on Wednesdays and teach.
Right.
It was like, yo, let's save the world. When? Next week.
Right.
Let's get the streets cleared of heroin. How, Christian? No connections. We can do it.
Right.
How did you balance that with such a wild pastor?
So like I said, I will put family first, my immediate family. For a long time, it was just me and Boomy, right? So that made it a little bit easier. And then I was in grad school and I'm working. I'm like, how am I going to do all this? Like, and then I said, Crystal, put ministry before that. Like I would literally, you would call and say, I need XYZ by tomorrow. I would literally do that and then go write a 20-page paper, and it would just come to me. You've seen me at your house after we've had a meeting, sit there and write paper after paper after, and it would just come easy to me. And I said, this is going to be my motto. I'm going to put ministry stuff first, and everything else is going to fall into line. My jobs have been easy. Not easy, but smooth. School was smooth. Everything was smooth because I did that. Because you really can't come up with a timetable for how everything is going to flow throughout your day. You can set goals, you can have priorities, you can have to-do lists, but you literally have to put ministry first.
And not because it's religious.
No, because you're putting God what he's asking you first. And then he's literally taking care of everything else.
And I love this conversation because we can talk this way, not in a religious way of, if you don't, God is going to kill you.
Right. No.
It's more of, no, I really love God.
I do.
And it's proven that he really loves me.
Yes. So
I want to bless him first. And again, it just feels so good to honor that truth without being religious about it, without being fearful. Like, I don't know. It just feels good.
It just did it.
That's major. That's major to do that. And it's scriptural. Seek ye first.
Yep.
Right? The kingdom of God.
Yep.
Right, and all these things will be added. It's amazing. It didn't say work for it.
Right.
It just said it will be added. And I think that's the point I was making when I brought up Bishop Scott, was that I didn't work for anything. I just suffered for stuff to make sure it was qualified. But I just sought the kingdom and stuff got added to me.
Right.
Like I never asked Bishop Scott, how do you do this?
Yeah.
It just came to me because of my faithfulness in walking with him.
Yeah. And I mean, it would take me hours sometime to get stuff done. I'd be up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, but it wouldn't feel like that because what I put ahead of everything else.
Which proves that the tithe isn't the only thing you should give to God first.
It's not.
But don't we all, when we talk about giving to God first, we only talk about the tithe. We never talk about energy, time, anything else. It's like, wow.
When someone says you have 24 hours in a day, you should tithe. People are like, oh my gosh, I should. And it's like, that's part of, because people don't talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't talk about time.
So let's dig deeper into the balance. What did you do? I mean, you won't like this term, but what did you do to ultimately feel like you won in that area? I know you don't think you won. I know you won because I've been there the whole time. And I know you don't ever feel like you won, so you won't never talk from that aspect. But so you will talk from that aspect. I'm telling you, without lie, without any addition, I've seen you win. Up until the day I retired, I saw you win. I saw you win us, win to the point where we figure out a plan to pay off a $250,000 building.
That moment, I was like, wow.
So let me ask you, did that change your mind about yourself?
So this is the place I've always been in, trying to figure things out. And so what it did was it didn't change my mind about myself, but it took a big burden off. And then at one point I'm like, yo, we really did this. Like even looking back on it now, sometimes I'm like, we really did this. Like we can do anything. Okay, we really can do anything. Okay, maybe we really can do anything. Yeah. Because that last month, that last year and a half of paying that building off was rough. That might have been the roughest time of ministry.
Which proved his, if it happened any other way, we'd have been happy.
Yep.
But because of how it happened, we were elated.
Yes, 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 yes.
Because yes, it was almost like it was God's design,
Yes.
though, to almost say, I gave this to you when you didn't have nothing, and I'm going to cause you all to pay it off while you have nothing.
While you have nothing.
Which proves that whole project was God's
It was.
idea from beginning to end.
It was. It was.
He
And
proved
it furthered my point of always saying, trust your leader. It trust your leader.
That was a wild one.
Because that was a wild one when you came and said, let's have 2 buildings at one time. Like, did our membership increase by 50%?
I want the whole block. I want half the block.
I'm like, did our membership increase by 50%? Like, is there a reason why he's saying we're going to have all this extra money? Like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And that was God's, he sealed the deal. Like, I told you.
We did it. We got rid of one building, paid the other one off, and have a future. Again, it wasn't my plan. That's what I want leaders to understand. Even when you're dealing with people that are faithful to you, like Crystal and her husband and other people were to me, you still have to just fear God with proper fear as a leader. Don't just obey him. It may be weird, it may be crazy. One thing that always proved to me that I was in the will of God is that y'all always followed.
Yeah.
And not because I wasn't never a kingly leader.
Right.
I never was a demanding leader.
Right.
I never was a make y'all scared of me leader.
Right.
My confirmation was always like every time I said something, no matter how wild it was, y'all will recognize God in it and go with me. If I ever came up with something and said, guys, let's do this, and you guys weren't in, it would have been a quick sign to me that this isn't the will of God. Because the sign was always wild. The people, they don't even understand it. Some people will say, well, why? The reward of what you did should be the proof. Nope.
Yeah.
The reward came before the reward for me.
Yeah.
Having support has always been the biggest reward for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you feel as we approached retirement? Were you really, did you feel like you retired too?
I did, because I think at some point I realized that my assignment is to your ministry, right? And not just to church in general, right? And so I'm like, but there's gonna be more after this. So let me just take this little bit of rest, this little half an hour of sleep I can get before we go on to the next thing. But I did. It was, so Kenny and I were talking about it, I think the day of. It was kind of bittersweet because we had just, it'd been 20 years. So it was bittersweet, but I did. I did. And I felt like you could finally rest in who you want to be. You could be free. You could be you. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was like, you can finally just rest and be who God called you to be without all the stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I never felt not free. It's weird. Oh, let me say it this way. I felt 98% free as a pastor. But that 2% bothered me so much
that you couldn't let it go.
That the 98 wasn't even worth it. I had to walk away. And I could walk away knowing that I had given everything. Like it was nothing else that I could have gave. It wasn't like afterwards, like, Dad, what? And I can honestly say since June 2nd of 2019, I've never said, Dad, it was something else. I should have did more. I should have. Again, I never pastored perfectly, but I emptied myself while I was there. And I can confidently say that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's nothing. It's one thing to say, yo, I lost and people can't see loss.
Right.
But my losses were
always visible.
on display.
Yeah, they were always
and
visible.
Y'all didn't even see the inward.
Yeah, no.
Loss.
And that's the part. You know, you would take a major loss and then like 2 months later, well, why isn't he getting organized? I'm sorry, huh? Like, be like, can we go back to like 2007 when this all started and just really think about all the loss he's taken and why he probably could walk away and nobody could say anything? Like, I'm just, it was just one of those things where it's like you've taken loss after loss after loss and try not to skip a beat.
No, I tried my hardest not to. But like we said last week, People don't recognize
don't.
that.
They don't.
The mentality of a church goer is those people are there to give to me, and if they're not giving to me at the level I think, I'm going to complain or move on. That's just the attitude of the immature believer, and it is what it is. You know, I'm thankful I made it to this place. I'm thankful that I've got that 2% because I didn't know that 2% was the whole thing.
Right.
That 2% was the whole thing.
It was.
Seriously,
It was.
If the other things in my heart never come, the 2% was this right here.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just happy that we made it to this place through all of the. I wish there was another. I know duality is only two things trying to mix. If I could find a word that doesn't exist, that is like 8 things that is trying to exist. We did that, and we did that by being ignorant and unlearned disciples.
And servants can be successful in and outside of ministry too. Going back to like our first point of, you can be successful in work, you can be successful at home, and also be successful in ministry.
I'm going to give Crystal the final word on that, because I think that is the work, life, marriage, balance. And I'm coming to think maybe it's not a balance.
It's not.
Maybe we just toss it all up to the God that can handle it. And then he will give us, or the better word, ration to us what we are empowered for at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't give up on God. Don't give up on you. Because giving up on God is giving up on you. And giving up on you is giving up on God. Because he's in you and you're in him. No fear, no shame, and no compromise. Thanks for hanging out with the Backpack Preacher and my great friend Crystal. Hope your life is encouraged. Hope your strength is renewed. And no matter what you do, stay humble and keep an open mind for Jesus. I love you. Next week. Hey guys, thank you so much for investing your time in the Backpack Preacher podcast. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify Podcasts. You can also watch the re-air of our podcast on our YouTube station. One more thing, visit our website, www.7crusade.org. Again, www.7crusade.org. For our products, booking, or to support any of our world missions projects, visit our site today. Thank you so much for visiting with us. We'll see you all soon.